Hello my lovely nestlings and welcome to today's video where I'm going to show you eye swatches and give you my review and some comparisons of the new Nomad Cosmetics palette called New Zealand Stargazing. And if you're new, welcome. My name is Nikki. I'm from the Netherlands, hence the accent. I'm also slightly orcish, relatively vintage. I love spooky stuff, makeup and being creative. Let me explain some things. The slightly orcish means I'm green. I'm a light to light medium warmish olive. The relatively vintage means I'm 47. Spooky stuff, you know, it's Halloween always in my house. It saves dusting. And I have a bunch of cats, a bunch of tarantulas. We have a snake. So sometimes some ghosties floating around here and there as well. It's always fun here. The creativeness, you see those behind me, those mandalas, that is what I also do. I'm a mandala artist and teacher, and I also have an art channel called Roho Art by NIKKIRAVEN, which will be linked down below in the description box. And if you see anything you like and you want to order a custom piece, check me out on Instagram at Roho Art by NIKKIRAVEN. Okay. Let's just get into the palette. This palette was sent to me in PR by Nomad Cosmetics. I also have an affiliated code which will earn me a small commission if you use that. So thank you so very, very much. Another colorful palette after a few neutrally ones. And when I saw this palette, I was very, very excited. I love the front, I love the artwork. And then when I opened her up, I gasped. Honestly. This is just such a stunning, stunning palette. It features 9 mattes and 6 twinkling multi-chromes. And the palette is inspired by the out-of-this-world stargazing in New Zealand. The palette is cruelty-free and vegan as well. They always have a story on the back of their palette about their inspiration. It says here, full of otherworldly landscapes and surrounded by intensely dark skies. New Zealand stargazing is a breathtaking, transcendent and humbling experience. As the night descends, the cosmos comes to life, displaying millions of shimmering stars so vivid you want to reach out and touch them. From the radiant southern lights to the spiraling Milky Way, this island country is the perfect place to feel a part of the greater universe and realize we are all made of star stuff. In a minute you will see me with a naked face because eye swatching is kind of a messy process, and I will swatch each shade separately on one eye, give you my thoughts while I'm using the shade as well. I will give you my overall thoughts on this palette at the end of the video, and I will also compare it, at least the multi-chromes, to the Royal Europe that I have here as well. So if you want to see me torture my eyeballs, hear my thoughts, then sit back, relax, enjoy, you know, put your feet up, make sure you have something to drink and a snack handy, because here comes me torturing my eyeballs for science. Okay, barefaced, my eyes are prepped for the first few shades, and I am going to go like that. Okay, so the first shadow is called Dark Sky Nation and it is a black. So let's plop it on the eyeballs. Let's start with this eye. Now my base has already set. This is a very, very nice black. I personally prefer a black that is buildable. This packs a nice punch. Let's kind of grab a blending brush and blend the edge a little bit. And it blends out very, very easily. Wow. So here is the shade Dark Sky Nation. Then the next shadow is kind of a, I would describe it as a blurple, a very blue toned purple, maybe even a blue with some purple in it. And it's called Carter Observatory. I don't have a lot of kick up in the pan. On me, it's maybe a little bit more blue than purple. Let's blend that out. Again, blends out very, very easily. It's a very pretty shade. If you know me, you know that I'm not really a blue toned girl makeup wise, but I think that this is a very interesting shade because it gives me a hint of purple as well, not just blue. Just going to add a little bit more. So here is the shade Carter Observatory. Okay, we're going to go to the first shimmer, and it's called Carina Nebula, and this is a multi-chrome or duochrome. So let me kind of see if I can show you. Very, very pretty. Very pretty. Oh, it's a green to kind of peach. Nom nom, yummy, yummy. So let's grab a brush. It's a very smooth formula as well. Oh, that's sparkly. Or not sparkly, that's the wrong word for it, but it's very shiny. It's very pretty. I do advise kind of a denser brush to pick this one up, and it will also work very well with your finger. So let's, this is dry by the way, so I haven't sprayed it. So let's use a finger. Oh, that gives it even more shine. It feels very smooth to the touch. Very, very pretty. I'm making such a mess. I hope that the shift shows on camera. But here is the shade, what was it again? Carina Nebula. The next one is another matte shade, and it is called Auckland Stardome. It's kind of a pinky, but also a little bit more muted. Ooh, that is nice. Oh, that will be gorgeous with that shade. Just this shade, you know, in the crease. Maybe blend it out with one of the lighter ones. And then this one all over the lid. That's pretty. Cool. Let's blend it a little. Blends very easy. The shade Auckland Stardome. So the next shade is called Oraki Mackenzie. I don't know if I pronounced it correctly. So if I don't, please correct me in the comment section. But it's a very nice purple. And it looks to be kind of a neutrally purple. So not really blue or pink leaning, which makes it perfect for darkening up the pink, or maybe even, you know, that kind of blurple shade that we used a little bit earlier. It's a pretty shade. So I can also blend with this brush. No, I want a blending brush. Let me get a clean blending brush. That would be nice. Do I have one? Blends out very, very easily again. This shade, Oraki Mackenzie. Okay. Next shade is called Nomad Stargazing, and it is a blue. And again, very little kick up in the pan. I have a little. Ooh, This is actually a pretty blue. It turns a little bit teal on me. It's because of my undertone. I don't mind that. I love teal shades, so there's that. Okay. That's on. Let's kind of blend it a little. Does it appear to blend out patchy? But you can kind of see, I don't know if you can see that on camera, but I can see it in real life that this turns a little bit more greener, and that's just because of my undertone. But here is the shade Tekapo Stargazing. Next shade is called Milky Way, and it's so stunning. So, oh, I need to swatch it first. Oh, this is a purple to teal. And it's actually one of my favorite types of duochromes. So, okay. Oh, that eye. So again, this is dry, although my base is a little bit wet. Oh, very pretty. If you want to get a little bit more intensity right away, use either a shimmer primer or spray your brush. No, or use a finger. So this is basically dry with a brush. Let's use the finger now. That's what she said. Oh yeah. I don't know if it's... I can actually see the shift. I don't know if you can. But it's very, very pretty. And this one is also, again, very, very smooth. Ooh. Me loves it, me loves it. Next is shade The Cosmos, which is a gray. And it almost seems to have a little bit of a bluer undertone, maybe? Yeah, it does. And on me, it kind of turns... I don't know why, but it picks up on the blue that I also have in my skin. Although on camera, it's maybe a little bit difficult. On camera, I look pretty pink, but unfortunately, I have set my camera settings to hopefully pick up the shades as accurately as possible instead of focusing on my skin tone, because I'm a little bit more green in real life. It's a very pretty blue. Gray. I need to say it correctly. And again, blends very, very easily. Shade The Cosmos. Next is another shimmer, and it's called the Jewel Box. And this is kind of a gold, but it also has a little bit of green and peach in it. Very pretty. My base is still a little bit wet. Oh, that's pretty. Oh, wow. It just looks, it looks so almost ordinary in the pan. But when I put it on my eye, oh, I don't know if you can see it, but oh lordy, it's so pretty. Okay, that was dry. Let's use the finger. That makes it so shiny. The shade Jewel Box. Oh, this is stunning. Very pretty. The next one is the shade Southern Lights, and it is a very interesting color. And I'm actually very curious to see how it will show up on my eye. Don't really know how to describe this shade, but I can tell it will work very well with that one. No, is this kind of a, I don't want to say it's a peach, but maybe it also kind of is a little bit of a dustier one. Very, very interesting. The shade Southern Lights. Okay, another nice shimmery multi-chrome. This is gray with green and pink. Very pretty. Okay, let's plop that on. Very, very pretty. Okay, that was dry. Wow. Can you see that? I hope so. Very pretty. The shade Southern Cross. Okay, okay. Then I'm going to go to Tongariro Night Hike, I hope, which is kind of it's kind of a gray with a brown undertone. So let's see how that one looks on me, because it can look very, very weird. Oh no, it's actually, I don't know what kind of color it is, but on me that is. But it's pretty. It makes it a very cool toned shade for me without, it looks a little bit more blue on camera, I think. Interesting. This shade Tongariro Night Hike. Next is the shade Aurora Australis. And if you're wondering why I pronounce it Aurora that way, is because I, for the life of me, cannot pronounce it in English. There's just something about the two R's so close together that just ties my tongue up. This also has a gray base. It's kind of almost a frosty pink shift. This is an interesting color. It's not a color that I usually gravitate towards, but it's very pretty. The shade Aurora Australis. Then the next shade is called Queenstown Skyline, and it is kind of a lighter, almost a peachy brown or an orangey brown. I don't know. On me it's more peachy and almost like a pastel, so I'm kind of packing it on. But I think that this shade on its own will be very pretty, but can also work very well with the shade Southern Lights to blend that shade out, or use Southern Lights to darken up this one. I don't know how well it shows up on camera. I want to say it's close to my skin tone, but only in depth. But I can tell against my skin tone that it is more orangey than I am. So here's the shade Queenstown Skyline. Okay, the last shade of the palette, and maybe it's even my favorite. I actually wore it yesterday just on its own in the inner corner, and it's just so extremely stunning. It looks very deceptive in the pan, kind of bland, but when you put this on your eye, it has a clear base, but it has a fiery shift. So there's gold in there, but there's also orange and red. Oh, I don't think it translates in camera. Maybe if I put it in my inner corner on my other eye. Let's see. Because that's actually what I did yesterday. The lights kind of blow it out, which is a shame. It's so stunning. I think that helps a little bit. It's very difficult to show on camera, but there's a fieriness in here. Maybe if I do it like this. It's such a shame that I cannot show it, but I think kind of looking at my monitor, you can kind of tell here in the outer corner that it has a little bit more of that red shift. It's just so pretty, and especially in the inner corner, it's so stunning. So here is the shade Magellanic Clouds, I think it's called. Those were all the shades. Let me clean up my face and I'll be right back. This is better. All cleaned up. Let me tell you the shadows that I used for the eye look. I started with this one. Basically put it all over. I darkened up the crease with this shadow. I kind of put this one a little bit more in the inner eye part area. Also grabbed a little bit of purple to darken up the outer corner a little bit. And for shimmer, I used this one basically all over the lid. Then I tapped a little bit of this one more in the beginning, and this one is in my inner corner. And this one is actually also kind of dusted over my lower lash line. And I really like the way that it looks. Let me also tell you the lippy that I have on. It's from Colourpop. The Colourpop lippy pencil in BFF, and then filled everything in. And then on top is Skinny Dip, one of their Luxe lip oils. So yeah, okay. Let's get back to the palette. And my thoughts on it before I go into comparison with the Royal Europe that I also have here. What I noticed first off when I used the matte shadows is that there is not a lot of kick up in the pan. I don't mind kick up at all, but I know that some of you do, so that's why I wanted to mention it. The shadows are very nice and pigmented right off the bat. They're not the most pigmented out there, but for me personally, this is the sweet spot. Now, Nomad's formula is always easy to work with, but their newer formula packs just a little bit more punch than their very old formula, like for instance, the Berlin or the Harajuku palette. So the pigmentation is there, the blendability was there because I could show you. I don't really know what to say about it. The only kind of issue I have with the matte shadows is this specific color. I don't really know how I feel about the color because looking at it in the pan, I'm like, it's a very pretty color. And on me, it kind of warps a little bit, but that has to do with my undertone. So when I kind of look at this palette and I pick this shade and then look at what I want to compare it with, I think that I would be very basic with this shade specifically and just darken it up with the black. So this is kind of the only shade that I'm like, I don't really know how often I would use it just compared with what else is in the palette, but that's a color thing. And if you're not a warm toned olive, I think that you could maybe it looks gorgeous on you, this type of shades. It's just that this particular tone of kind of cooler toned brown, I don't really use that often, but that's the only thing. Performance wise, they were spot on. This is just such a nice matte formula. I had no issues whatsoever. Even when we're on the outer areas of the palette and my eyes got a little bit more sensitive. No issues with packing or blending whatsoever. So then let's go to the multi-chromes they have in there. This is actually the second time that they're doing multi-chromes, and I really love these. I really do. What I did notice, and that's just a tip, if you want to use them with a brush, use a brush that's a little bit more dense and a little bit more stiff. And that just has to do with the shimmer particles. If you have a looser brush, the shimmer particles kind of tend, or at least for me, tend to fall a little bit more in between the bristles. And you just have to layer it on a little bit more. I also use them dry. I did not spray my brush with a setting spray or, you know, a mist. If you do that, it will kind of grip to the particles. So if you want to know how to do that, particularly, you grab the shade with a dry brush, then spray your brush and then put it on your eye. That way it shines more. You can also use a shimmer primer. Just tap a little bit of shimmer primer on your lid first and then pick up the eyeshadow and then tap it over. I felt though that with just a dry brush, I got a very, very nice shine. But if I then also use my finger, it's actually the way to use shades like this. You just pack the most punch instantaneously. If you don't like to use your fingers in eyeshadow, you can also use a sponge tip, because that gives the same type of finish as your finger would. Now I actually love to feel my eyeshadows with my fingers, and when I touch the matte shadows, they kind of feel silky, but not extremely silky. So if I have an eyeshadow that's extremely silky and I do kind of this, you kind of get a shine on the eyeshadow, and that doesn't happen here. But they feel nice texture wise. And when I kind of feel a shade like that, I know that it's not too powdery, it's not too dry, it's just what I actually prefer. And the same with the shimmer. So when I feel the shimmers, they are very nice and smooth. And sometimes when you get shades like this, you can kind of feel that they're a little bit dry or maybe a little bit more textured. But these are not. These are very, very nice and smooth. And actually now you can kind of see the fieriness that shadow also has. Okay, so that is kind of my thought on the performance of the palette. And listen, I love Nomad's formula. I've loved their formula for years, and they just keep getting better and better, at least in my opinion. So now let's kind of go to the Royal Europe palette that I also have here. So let me hold them up. Ooh, I hope. So here they are. And as you can see in the Royal Europe, the bottom row, that's where the shimmers are. And those are the multi-chromes. So let me swatch them. Where can I can swatch them on my arm. So I'm going to go first to Royal Europe and then kind of see if I have a corresponding shade. So this is the shade Imperial Crown from Royal Europe. And this is a little bit more of kind of a gold to green. So if I can then kind of go to its equivalent in the new palette, which is then the shade Jewel Box, it has a very, very different undertone. You can already tell that this is way more green and this is way more orange. Yes, so that's those two. Then I have the shade Royal Orb in Royal Europe. I don't have an equivalent in this one, but I'll grab the shade, what's the shade? Carina Nebula, because it also has a little bit of green in it. So this is Royal, these both are Royal Europe and these two are of the new palette. Then I have Bleu de France in Royal Europe. Which is more of a purple to blue. Should have shaved my arm. My hairs are in the way. And I'm going to do that with the shade Milky Way, which is a teal to purple. They don't really want to swatch on my arm though. So I kind of hope that the difference is slight on camera, but this is more blue with purple and this is teal with purple. I don't know how to explain it. Wait, let me swatch it on my fingers. Maybe I can show you a little bit better there. So this was Bleu de France. Yeah, so this is Bleu de France. It has more kind of a bluey purple. Bluey. Yeah, the finish is blue. These two are the most similar. However, when I swatch them on my arm, I can tell that this first one is basically more purple to teal, and this one is teal to purple, if that makes any sense, but they are close. I know it's semantics, but this one is just a little bit darker, almost. But they are close. They are. Okay. Then I'm also going to grab St. Edward's Crown from Royal Europe and swatch that below the other two. That is the most purple. Then I have Royal Treasure from Royal Europe. And I'm going to pit that against Southern Cross. Oh yeah, I can kind of tell. So it's basically the same type of shade, but the new one is way more sparkly. And looking at it kind of a little bit lower down, it's also a little bit more pink versus the one in Royal Europe, which is a little bit more peachy orange. So this is a little bit more pink. It's also way more sparkly. Same with this one. So comparing these two, I don't know if you can kind of tell, but the new one has a lot more sparkly shades, sparkly bits in it, which are a little bit more teal. So it's just a little bit more sparkly. And then I also want to swatch just the other two shades that I have left in the new palette, because I can. So these are also from the new palette. So final verdict, the two that are actually, well, very, very similar are the blue to teal or the teal to purple. But they are different. So you can kind of see it a little bit better on my hand. This is the new one and this is the one in Royal Europe. So yeah, those are the two closest. And then the other two that are close are, yeah, Royal Treasure and Southern Cross. So let me put those on my hand as well. That was Royal Treasure. And this is Southern Cross. So this is Royal Europe, the Royal Treasure shade, and this is Southern Cross from the new palette. So I hope that those comparisons help. Now, honestly, I think that the formula of the new palette, the multichromes in the new palette, is better than their previous formula. And the reason that I'm saying that is just I feel that because they're a little bit more sparkly, they pack a little bit more punch, if that makes any sense. But yeah, here's my my very, very shiny arm. Very, very shiny arm. The new palette will launch on I believe it's Monday. I believe, but the information will be listed down below in the description box. I don't know what it will retail for, but I'm guessing it will be the same retail price as Royal Europe. And if you want to save some money at checkout, you can use my affiliated code NIKKIRAVEN to save 10%. And I do earn a small commission when you use that code. And if you do, thank you so very, very much. I think that is it for today's video. Let me know if you are excited for this. Let me know if you are getting this or are you skipping. Did my video help? Let me know down below. Also, don't forget to check out my art channel. If you like to know how I make the stunning mandalas that I have back here, I would love to see you there as well. And then that is it for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down in the comment section below. I'm going to wish you a fantastic day, fabulous evening. May your foundation always match your neck, and I will see you when I see you. Bye.